low sodium, sugar-free, all natural, non-GMO herbs and spices that enhances the flavor of any dish. Dan's story began in college, where his mother gave chicken thighs and sure what to do with them, started experimenting with original blend of herbs and spices, what is now famous Dano's original seasoning. This is one of the longer bios that see, so you got a lot to going on, Dan. This is great. So basically, coming from the restaurant industry, bartending, you're really kind of focusing your efforts on creating your seasoning, getting famous on TikTok, and just with a meteoric rise over the last few years. So basically, first bottle in 2015, and then it's been a crazy and amazing ride since then. So I will get out of your way. Dan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, guys. Now, when I say I'm excited to be here, I always used to watch my motivational speeches or speakers and whatnot. And they're like, if you're nervous, just tell yourself you're excited. So, I am actually super excited about this because I get to tell you my story. So, first off, I want to ask, who here has heard of Dano's seasoning? Fair amount. So, who has Dano's seasoning? Awesome. Who used it this morning? It was breakfast. Three people in All right. So, who's seen my videos on social media? Awesome. Well, if you haven't followed me yet, that's how Dano's really came to be. Talk about some of the 2022 successes we've had. A year ago, we weren't even in 1,000 stores. Now we're over 13,000 stores in a year's time. We also became the #1 fastest growing business in the city of Louisville in the Business First Fast 50. So we're #1. 3,000% growth in a 3-year span. 3.3 billion views we have had on our social media accounts. So 3.3 billion views just in 2022. So I want to put something in perspective for you to grasp 3.3 million views. 1 billion seconds is 12 days. A billion seconds is 30 years. So think about it. But that's so again, we had like 100 years worth of views in 1 year. So, yes, we've had all this great success. We're in 13,000 stores. We almost cracked $20 million in 2022. We're this close. But what you guys want to know is how did we get here? How did we get here? So, I'm going to take you back to my story. Dano's, what motivated me to start this business. So, it's funny, I didn't tell you guys yesterday in my speech that I was going to do this, but I'm doing this. So it goes back to high school. I was dead set I was going to be the star quarterback, and I never got my chance. And so I had a chip on my shoulder for a long time. And so I always wanted to prove that, I'm here to change the world. I'm going to do something. I'm going to be seen. I'm going to figure it out one way or another. And so I went through all these sales jobs. I did door-to-door sales, insurance sales, industrial manufacturing sales. And at the end of the day, I was like, I want to be a bartender. I want something that's just cool. It's the easiest sales job in the world, but everybody's buying it. So I bartended for like 3 years. And after 3 years of it, I was like, all right, now I gotta get out of here. Like, I'm always spinning my wheels, thinking about ideas. I had all kinds of, I still got all kinds of ideas. And anybody that works for me will tell you that. I got an idea every day. But, so I was bartending, thinking, how am I gonna get out of here? And I actually spent $1,800 on a disposable toothbrush marketed houses one time with Invento. I had this little idea for a disposable toothbrush. And I spent some money on it. It was a great idea, but at the end of the day, I had $20,000 more to invest in it. So it was kind of like, no, and that's just not it. Well, I always loved to cook, always loved cooking my whole life. And I had this recipe for chicken that I developed back in college in like 2000. And so I had this recipe for literally 15 years that I would make bone and skin on chicken with. And it wasn't until one day that I would always bring this chicken into the bar and give it to some of the people I work with. And everybody would go, oh, that's the best chicken I ever had. How'd you make that seasoning? Can you bring me some? So I'd bring a little bag sometime and give it out. And everybody's like, oh, that's the best seasoning. Still never occurred to me, here's your product. Here's what you need to be doing. I'm thinking disposable toothbrushes and bigger ideas, things that actually took like $1 million to start. I had $8,000 saved up in my bank account, knowing that I was going to do something at some point. I just had to figure out what it was. Well, it wasn't until one day on a Monday, it was 5 o'clock, I brought in this chicken. It was like a whole chicken, had it cut in half, and there's one guy at the bar, he wasn't even drinking, he was waiting on a pool game. And I was like, are you hungry? You want some of this chicken I just brought in? He's like, yeah. And he took one bite of that chicken and he looked at me. He's like, this is the best chicken I ever had in my life. Why aren't you selling it? And I was like, damn. That's it. So like, my name was Danny for 32, 33 years. And at that moment, I was like, I gotta change my name. Damn, now. And so that was my aha moment. Like, it literally hit me like a ton of bricks. And my buddy Ryan, he was like, tell people what the aha moment felt like. And I'm like, well, you know, when I had the toothbrush idea, it was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And I had all these other ideas and, you know, ideas to start a landscaping business, but that's not an aha moment. Like, when the dam was hitting, everything clicked. Like, it was just like, man, this is it. I gotta figure out how to start this business. So, and you know, it was like everything that I had done in my life, like I felt that like it's all happening for a reason, because it's Dano's, this is what I'm gonna do. And so I had to figure it out. Well, I had to work 12 hours that night, because the little bar stayed until 4 o'clock, so I had to work till 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning and go home. And I couldn't wait to get out of there because I knew I had to go home and figure out how to package this product. I had a family of entrepreneurs, but nobody knows the CPG business. And so I knew I had to figure it out. So Google and YouTube became my best friend. I literally just had to figure everything out. And it took me, my aha moment was in January 2015. I started the business April 13th, 2015. And at the end of 2015, I hadn't sold anything and found out I had to pay taxes. So that was like my first mistake. It's like, don't start the business until you actually have a product to sell. But I knew, and I've heard Mark Cuban say before, that like, you know, some of the best businesses, like people don't know what they're doing. They see it, they start the business, and they run and figure out the rest later. And that's literally what I did. And so I started this business in April 2015. So I had to figure out how to put it into a bottle, right? So literally it took me 2 years. It took me 2 years to get to this packaging. This is my original packaging. Mike, put your hand up. He helped me come up with this original label. I'm like, I want this little dude on it. I want the state of Kentucky. The dude, you know, I knew what the brand was. I knew my little dude. I knew I wanted a Huckleberry Finn character, so I literally paid the guy in the kitchen $100 to sketch up the little guy. Now, he looks totally different than what he looks now, but it was the idea, it was the vision. I remember working at the bar, and I told everybody, you paid him $100 to draw that? And I'm like, yeah, it's my logo. They're like, okay, cool. And so, when this happened, I want everybody to remember one thing about my business, is that I didn't start Dano's to be low sodium, no sugar, all natural. I started it because I knew the flavor was unlike any other on the market. Everything made sense to me, going back to my aha moment. It's like, you know, I love to cook, this is it, I got $8,000. And so, this was it. 2 years of planning, ideas went into getting this on the shelf. And I remember the first store I went in was Paul's Fruit Market. They got 4 of them. And I remember after I delivered it, I called the lady, and I was like, don't put those on the shelf yet. It says low sodium. I'm like, I'm not sure I can put that on the label. And I already delivered it, got a check and everything, but I'm like, I'm not sure I can put that on the label. Because to me, it didn't make sense. Why was no other seasoning company out there putting low sodium and using it as a way to sell the product? And so, literally after about a month or two of me doing little demos in the stores, I figured out why people weren't buying nanos. Maybe it was a little bit too expensive because those were selling for like $7, $8. And you could shrink the bottle, get it to like $5 range. And then some people would see like, oh, there's some sugar in it. And I'm like, oh, it's only like a pinch. Like literally it's nothing, but you can't tell somebody that. But just take the sugar out of the recipe. So I literally, after like a month or two, I shut down nanos. Like I kept it in the stores where it was at, but I cut it off because I'm like, this is not ready. Look at it, it's farmer's market looking, it's not national brand. So I literally spent like 7 or 8 months into the next packaging. Mike remembers, Mike helped me with this as well. And I was like, I want the dude bigger. I want people to see the dude, I want people to connect with him, put some Danos on it. Now that we look at these labels, it's like, gosh, there's just so much going on. But, it's evolving, it's learning how to pivot. This, I came out with June 1st, 2017. And this is when I was like, now it's time to go. I remember my dad always telling me, he's like, you need to go do flea markets. And I'm like, I will, when I had this. And so eventually, when I had it, I went and did my first flea market. And it was, I was expecting to do this like 4-day flea market, and I was hoping to do $1,000. And I was selling like almost 4,000. And I was like, this is it. That's how I do it. I don't have to sell drinks anymore. I can quit my job. If I can do that type of sales, because people love the product, I can survive. I can make this thing survive to get to the next level. And so, literally, I did the state fair. Now, I want to tell you about like my second aha moment. But you can see on this packaging, I make the low sodium bigger. I really identified my niche. And I'm like, okay, I can make Danos low sodium. That's the selling point. You can use more because it's less salt, but that also keeps people coming back about more. And so it all makes sense. But when I was at the state fair in 2017, I remember this little lady come up, and she's trying a piece. I think it was on a cucumber, it could have been mashed potatoes. And she was looking at me and she was like, this is dang good. And I was like, and it's $5, you can get 2 for 10, and 4 for 20, it's low sodium. And she's like, no, honey. Like, she's pointing at the sign, she's like, it's dang good. And I'm like, whoa. Like, seriously, I'm like, that's fantastic. That's Dano wine. You don't know till you Dano. Like, they just started coming out. And I told my buddy, I'm like, did you hear that? I'm like, fantastic, Dano wine. Like, you don't know till you Dano. I'm like, man. I'm like, this is just like, when you think of like things happening for your life and a reason, gosh, it's like I knew my first aha moment, and I immediately knew the name, and I'm like, what a catchy name. I knew the product was different, just so happens to be healthy, and the marketability of it is endless. I mean, all the Danos, it's like, it's endless. The marketability is absolutely endless. So it's like, everything just made sense. How can you give up on that? So I had to travel the country for 3 years. Not had to. I did travel the country, growing the business. I was doubling my business each year. My goal in 2020 was to hit $500,000 in sales. And that's basically just a one-man show. I had one guy to help me out. And so the pandemic hit. And I remember I was driving up to Michigan. I was like 1 hour away from the show. And I remember, show's canceled. And I was listening to talk radio the whole way up there, and the whole way back saying that, your life's gonna change, nothing's ever gonna be the same. And I'm like, well, Dano's definitely gonna be the same because I can't go do my little shows. That's how I survived. I already was on Amazon, I had a website, I had Facebook, I had Instagram, I had TikTok, I had all this stuff. But I literally only had probably combined 30,000 followers. I was in 200 stores, if that. Because I wasn't in local Kroger's, but it was only on Kentucky Crowd Shelf. So it's like, I knew that I had to come home and find what was my plan B to sell this product. It was social media. And it was TikTok. I remember listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. And he's like, you have a brand right now, you're not on TikTok, because it's just this new app and it's exploding, like, you don't know, you're missing the boat. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna make TikToks. Like, I was already making videos, so it wasn't nothing new. But I remember like going to the store and I'm like, I buy enough food to make 5 or 6 recipes, get a 12-pack of beer, and I go home and I'm turning the camera on and making one video after another. And I'm like, I gotta do $200 to survive, $200 just to make this business to survive till I don't know when. And I was probably doing $200-300 a day, probably averaging $250 for like a couple weeks, so I was like surviving. And then I remember it was one night, and I was like, I'm just gonna make these crab cakes. And I was like, no, you know what? Why not I'll just film it with one hand. Like it was one hand recording the food, one hand cooking. And it kind of went viral. It had like 500,000 views on TikTok, but the sales went to like $1,200. And I was like, that's it. I was like, create controversy. Why was it controversy? Because it was crab cakes. So everybody from Maryland's like, where's the Old Bay? That's not how you do it. What's this Dano stuff? And I'm just like, you don't know do Dano, you don't know do Dano, you don't know do Dano. And literally, like that was my replies for like 2 weeks. Don't know do Dano. Well, eventually, it used to be like 80% of the comments were negative. Now, if you look, it's like 98% are positive because, but I remember back in that growing spurt on TikTok, you could just see it turning from negative to positive. Because people were like, no, I actually tried it. You really don't know Dano. And then I got a community of people saying you don't know Dano. And I'm like, well, how about Yum Yum get you some? You know, all these other slogans and stuff just started to catch on and people love it. You know, it's not just the flavor, but it's the branding and me making it fun. And so that was 2022 in March. And then so the massive explosion. How much more time do I have?
7 minutes.
Cool. Thank you. So that's when we started to take off. That's when I'm like, all right, I need somebody to help me run this business. Well, somebody introduced me. Phil, raise your hand. Phil Crosby, Crosby Interactive. He's the CEO of Dano's now. And we started talking. This guy introduced us. He's like, I know a guy that runs a marketing company. And, you know, since you already have some success, and you don't have a lot of money, he might do some things for you for a percentage of revenue. And I'm like, that's what I need. I need somebody that doesn't need the money now, but if they earn it, they get it, it makes sense. So I met with Phil, and that was our original agreement, that, you know, I'm gonna give him a percentage of revenue for helping me grab the low-hanging fruit and get things popping, you know, marketing-wise. And it was only lasted for like 3 weeks before we're like, let's make a real partnership. I'm like, let's take this thing to the moon. So that's what we did. You know, we had long discussions for weeks. I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 weeks before we actually came to an agreement. But I remember, you know, he thinks just like I do, but he's more the wizard behind the curtain. I'm the guy in front of the camera. And I had no problem, not a greedy person, I had no problem giving up equity in my business because I knew that's what I needed to do, because I am not the guy that likes to look at QuickBooks, I don't like to look at bank accounts, I don't like to run any part of the business. I like to make videos and sell a product and do what I believe in. So I made the partnership, and I remember the day we made the partnership, the agreement was to change the world. Because that's what I set out to do. And like I said, everything made sense. Like all these aha moments that I had, the product being different than anything else, it being low sodium, it being no sugar, high blood pressure, diabetics, and change people's life and still give them flavor. And then the marketability of it is just endless. So, you know, here's a guy running a marketing company that saw the light too, and now we have almost 50 employees. Like I said, we almost did $20 million last year. We're expecting to be in 20,000 grocery stores by the end of the year. Maybe even hit 30, you never know. There's a lot of them out there. But like I said, our goal's high. Most people right here in this little crowd, these are all Danos. This is my girlfriend Rachel. And yeah, I guess, let me show you this. So, Here's something funny. When people used to ask me if I'm married, do I have kids? It was always, yes, I have two. One's original, one's spicy. So, these are my first kids, original and spicy. They're like 7 years old. Chipotle, we launched at the end of 2021 in December, so a little over a year old here. And then Crunchy, we just launched a few months ago, so this is our newborn. And we actually, we got one in the oven. We got something called seasoning on the way. It's not seasoning, it's cheesening. And we're super excited about the cheesening. I'm telling you, it's like nothing you've ever had before. If you like Parmesan cheese and you like flavor of Dano's, it's like the two mixed with some Italian herbs and spices. We actually had to go buy the trademark from another company that had it for like 50 years. We're the only people that's gonna have cheesening. So we're super, super excited about it. It should be March or April that we'll be launching it, it'll be available. But yeah, there's our 4 babies. We're super excited. You know, what makes us successful, not only the flavor, I'm never gonna put my name on something that I don't believe 100% that it's the best in this category. Low sodium, no sugar is our big thing. Low sodium, we use real sea salt. So when we want to actually talk about the quality of the product, we use real sea salt in our product. So we still get the salt flavor. Because a lot of people, the misconception is, oh, low sodium, well, it can't be good. You gotta have salt. And I'm like, yes, I agree with you. But why do 95% of the competition have over 200, 300 milligrams of sodium in their per serving in their product? You only need a little bit, and if you're using the high quality salt, you don't need to use as much. So you can have flavor, be healthy, and it's a win-win for everybody. So really talking about the quality of the product, that's what makes us awesome. Plus it's fantastic. You don't know till you know, it's damn good. If you start using it, you speak my damn language. So here's what's cool about the Crunchy. I want you to see it says Crunchy. If anybody's seen this in the stores, it actually says everything bagel right now. And the reason why we're changing it to Crunchy is because we presented this to Walmart and Kroger's and it got turned down. Like we're like top 5 in the category. Why are we getting turned down? Because they already have 10 other everything bagel seasons. But we're like, it tastes nothing like the other ones, we're different. But we called it everything bagel. Now we're changing it to Crunchy. Because it's like, okay, think about this. When you want to talk about branding, what makes Dano's original special? Kind of like ranch. Ranch didn't exist till 30 years ago. Now everybody knows what ranch is. Dano's didn't exist till a few years ago. People are starting to find out what Dano's is. But there's no way to describe the flavor. You almost have to have it. You have to try it, and then you know what Dano's is. So it's kind of the same thing with the spicy. Same thing with the Chipotle, it's the Dano's flavor. So that's why we changed everything bagel to Crunchy. Because who's ever had Dano's or a Crunchy seasoning? Anybody? No, because it doesn't exist. Well, you've had a Crunchy seasoning, but that's not what it's called, Crunchy. So it's just I'm giving you a little insight on how we see the brand itself. We want to be unique and identify ourselves as, hey, if you haven't had it, so you don't know till you didn't know. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I guess in closing, I mean, who's got a question for me? Yes.
So how did you, I mean, obviously you started off with a certain number of social media followers. You're selling something that nobody's tried on social, that's really what you exploded. And is it all from TikTok? Do you feel like it's all from TikTok?
It started on TikTok. Like, because I was doing Facebook and Instagram, all that stuff, like, for the years prior, the 3 years I was traveling the country, every weekend I'm in a different city selling Dano's, I was still making videos. But the Facebook and Instagram never gave me the attention. I never saw, like, I was probably averaging $100 a day online for years. And if I made something that kind of got some little attention, I might get $200 worth of sales. never went from like 200 to 1,000, and it was like 3,000 and 4,000 and 10,000. Like it was insane. And it was mainly from TikTok, but that's why I made the partnership with Phil. We're like, let's put marketing fuel on this fire, and we're gonna blow up all platforms. And so that's what we've done. We're just as big on YouTube, and we're the biggest on Facebook now. We're not as big following wise, but we get views on Facebook. Yes, you were up first. Yeah.
How often were you posting, and how long did it take for that to start generating revenue, or for the views to start going up as well?
On the TikTok back in 2020, I mean, I was posting 2-3 videos a day. Because I didn't have a plan B. Talking about plan B's, my first investor, Eric Wood, he said, the reason why I invested with you is because you don't have a plan B. You don't have a fallback plan. It's Dan a bust. And so I was making 2-3 videos a day, and sometimes I'd just be talking about the product, sometimes it would be a recipe, but it was always just Dan all day long. But yeah, 2-3 a day, and then eventually, it was just that one little quirky one that I didn't put much effort into, the crab cake, that kind of like, I was like, okay. Yes, sir.
I just had some of your product last night, and the thing that I noticed was interesting about the lid was the holes are much bigger than most seasonings. And is that so you can sell more because people don't?
Well, I've had discussions about that, and we actually went to smaller ones at one point, and then there's problems with it not coming out. And really, to be honest with you, when we have the bigger holes on there, and sometimes you use it and too much comes out, a lot of times when you eat it, you'll be like, oh, I thought I messed it up. But no, I didn't. It actually makes it dang good. So, like it does. And that goes back to the beauty of the product. Is you almost can't overdo it because it's not 200 milligrams of sodium. It's not 300. It's not salt packed. It's just flavor packed with the right amount of salt. So you can almost just like dip in it. Like I've done that before. Just dip chicken in it and eat it. It's like not salty. It's great.
Last question.
Okay. Who's got a really good one? He's got a really good one.
So you talked about that moment where you decided to pour fuel in the fire. Was that based on KPIs? Was that gut instinct? Can you talk about that process when you knew that you had a viable product market fit and decided to put gas in front? And was that attributed to the marketing firm?
Well, that was, like I said, I stick to what I was good at. And when we made our partnership, it was like, we're gonna put 20% of our revenue back into marketing. And it was like, it feels like I've been doing this for years. I've never actually had a product that I'm equity partner in. It was always build these companies up and then they leave me because he's a marketing agency. So it was like, this is what we're gonna do. We set out with the game plan. This is before we ever made our agreement. He's like, what do you wanna do? 20%? Let's build this thing and take it to the next level. And I was like, yes, we'll make money eventually one day. Money, profit's just a product of your success. One day we'll get there. We just keep marketing, letting people know, and eventually, one day we'll make some money. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
And we have a small token of appreciation, burn rate by Andy Dunn. You might appreciate that. Sweet. All right.